Okay, hopefully the recording works this time. Hi, I'm ELH, the Game Master, and welcome to Star Trek Bastet. We're an actual play podcast that is using the Star Trek Adventures role playing system by Modiphius Entertainment. And we are using a time traveling Prometheus class with a skeleton crew of young officers as our premise. Now, don't stress if you can't stick around for the full session or if you've missed previous episodes. You should have pretty much a good time watching this one regardless, but you can play catch up with the VODs and audio only versions on YouTube and the popular podcast solutions. I don't really have anything in the way of announcements, so let's just have the players introduce themselves, starting with the captain.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex. I am playing the Cation Captain, Abasi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikhil, and I play the shape-shifting Lieutenant Alexio.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brian. I'm at MindOverBrian on Twitter and on Twitch, although on Twitch I spell it with a 0, and I'm playing Baylor Droxine, the first officer, and our Danon on our crew.
Everyone, my name is Dare Wolf. I am playing Lieutenant Kalos Cater, the peppy and quippy doctor.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew. I play Lieutenant Tyr Thavarin, a Benzite raised on Andoria, who is the ship's tactical officer and chief engineer, arguably.
We'll see what Tamarochka thinks of that. But yeah. I was going to run the intro, but something happened on the tech side and the original intro got corrupted, so I'm rebuilding it. So we're just going to jump straight into the opening log. Droxine, I believe you have that today.
First officer's log. Stardate. Stardate. The Bastet has reported her success to the Admiral, but rather than heading home, the Admiral has ordered us to investigate the origins of the black box device we confiscated from the Challenger. And so, we remain in the NX era, hollow-cloaked as a temporally appropriate vessel. Morale has been challenging since the captain's revelation, maybe for none more than me. After my outburst at the all-staff meeting, the rest of the crew has given me a wide berth, interacting with me only as much as they need to. Alexio's been even more furtive than usual. Mir and Varessa give me funny looks when they think I'm not looking. And even Dr. Cater saw me in the turbo lift and said, I'll wait for the next one. And who could blame them? I've made no effort to develop relationships aboard the Bastet. I've been openly disdainful of them, fully expecting that we'd quickly find a way to return to our lives. And I'd laugh at the story of our little misadventure when I told Sarah about it in 10 Forward. Now, there may not be a 10 Forward to laugh in, or a Sarah to laugh with. Something Tavarin said at that meeting has stuck with me, something about his father never adopting him. I get the sense that despite our contentious relationship, we may have more in common than I thought. If I'm going to make inroads at rehabilitating my reputation on this ship, he's the person to start with. And I must make those inroads, or I'm not worth the faith the captain has put in me. And I have no intention of disappointing Abasi. He's got enough on his shoulders. Speaking of shoulders, my cybernetic left arm has been giving me trouble again, and almost like the neural relays are responding to random neural input, the doctor has given me a clean bill of health, but his engineering knowledge wouldn't fill a Zenite purity test tube. So maybe that's my way into a conversation with Tavarin. And log.
Very nice, and you may have momentum for that lovely log. So today's session is going to open up with a shot of 2 Forward. And currently residing within is not only Tavarin, but Droxine walking in from the passageway that leads deeper into the ship, so the back door, quote unquote, rather than the front door. And as Droxine walks in, I'm curious, what is Tavarin doing in 2 Forward right now? Enjoying a cup of tea, reading pads? What are you up to there?
I would say that Tavarin is actually, and he quickly sort of shuts down when he sees Droxine and the door open with Droxine coming in. He is singing some kind of Klingon drinking dirge while he is drinking something. It's not quite clear what it is, but it's frothing.
Mr. Devarn.
Yep. Sir?
Please don't. No, we're off duty. Please don't stop singing on my account.
Right. Nonetheless, I think that I will.
I'm not going to lie to you. This is not a chance meeting. I kind of arranged to be here in the same time as you. I was hoping we could have a off the record chat.
Is this the kind of off-the-record chat that ends in fisticuffs, or...
I hope not. I kind of want you to take a look at my cybernetic arm.
Oh, well, you certainly come to the right person. Best engineer on the ship, after all, so... I suppose that I can do that. What seems to be the trouble?
Well, so I took it into the doctor and he took a look, but it says it's fine. However, it seems to be responding to neural input that I'm not giving it, so occasionally my fingers twitch. I was wondering if you'd manage to maybe take a look at it through a tricorder, give it a once-over.
One of the power cells might be sending out intermittent pulses of plasma, so that could handle it. I'll take a quick look. And Thavarin will put down his drink, and Droxine, if he cares to take a look, will see that through the sort of frothing foam and smoke that's billowing out of it, there's some kind of gray liquid that's quite viscous therein. And Thavarin will take out an engineering tricorder and try to scan the cybernetic implants.
Sure. Go for a reason engineering difficulty of 1. Take a glance at your focuses here. I would say that I don't know if the character sheet wants to load today.
Nothing really, I think, applies. Only computers would even come close. So.
Yeah, so I don't think you have a focus here, unfortunately. But hey, you still got 2 successes, so that's 1 momentum. So, would you like to come up with what's wrong with it, Droxine, or should I? Because I have an idea, but if you have one already, I wanted to give you that opportunity.
So what I was thinking was that because of we're not quite as objective, there's interference because the neural hubs have started to grow over, which shouldn't be possible.
No, that actually was pretty close. I was going to say that because you're not fully synced or unsynced, that there's some crosstalk between neurons. So that makes sense. And Tavarin, you see this easily, and it's actually a pretty simple fix. You just have to sort of make it so that the arm is more temporally grounded.
And you said you spoke with a doctor about this?
Yeah, I did. He did a quick bioscan, said the neural interface was still working appropriately, and that he wasn't seeing anything physiologically.
Well, in this case, his incompetence is not the cause of his failure. So he will close the tricorder and attach it to his belt. It's that you have a slight decoupling of the phase regulators in the cybernetics. So, given his lack of engineering knowledge, he would see nothing wrong on the neurological level.
That makes sense. Listen, I do want to talk to you slightly more on the record, in the sense that as a person who has to work with you, I think we should have a quick chat. I want you to know that I really appreciate your good work. I appreciate how competent you are as an officer at more consoles than you should be. However, I do think maybe you might want to tone down the amount of telling people how good you are. You do.
Okay, for a minute there, I thought that first part was a bit of a come on, and just so you know, I am in a relationship with Sam Rochka, and I mean, she came on to me in here as well, so I don't know if that's just a function of this room.
I find it funny to interrupt. I have a complication from chat. The complication that happens is the mood lighting turns on, Barry White begins playing, little saxophone and some trumpets. It's very romantic, is what I would say.
I've been really trying, baby. Hold back so long.
I'm going to assume that this was her doing as well. This seems like something she'd do.
Does that mean I should be worried about an inbound Tamarochka?
No, she's probably just watching us right now and trying to embarrass me.
Well, Tavarna, you are a very good-looking man, but I'm not interested, and taken, but not interested.
Fair enough.
But I did want to talk. Listen, I know it must have galled you pretty bad when I got promoted to first officer and you didn't. And I think you should know that I suggested your name in the meeting with the captain. But furthermore, I may be able to offer you some insight as to why you weren't given the position in this instance, if you are interested.
If I may, sir, I may
Please
not.
call me Baylor. This is not a official conversation. Slightly more on the record in that it related to our jobs, but please.
All right, Baylor. I may disagree with the captain's selection of a first officer, but it's his right to elect any officer to any position that he believes best. And I don't hold any resentment towards you, even if I think that this was the wrong choice. We all have our duties to perform, and is why I resent you. You've, if we're speaking freely, attempted to shirk your responsibilities on a number of occasions. You don't care about being on this ship. You're just trying to get back to the Enterprise. You don't respect the position that you've been given, and that's why I don't respect you as a person.
That's a fair and honest assessment, and I appreciate you being so upfront. I admit that I have not taken the position on the ship particularly seriously. I honestly thought this was going to be a footnote in the chronicles of my life. I was supposed to make it to the Enterprise E, but I think you're misunderstanding my zeal for that ship. It's twofold. You know I'm Ardanan, right?
Yes, I'm not really familiar with your species. I don't know if there are many of you in Starfleet.
There's a few. We're not particularly well known as starfarers. What we are known for is mining. But years before I was born, my species had split into a caste system. There were the Stratosians and the Troglites. You may be able to tell from the way the universal translator has chosen to express Troglite, but they were not particularly well regarded caste in the Ardanan species, and it turned out it was a byproduct of the mining. The only reason anybody ever paid attention is because an Enterprise stopped in Ardana, and the crew figured out that was what was going on. So I'm descended from Troglites. We don't like to refer to ourselves as that anymore. We're just Ardanans. But that scar on our society still exists, and so as an Ardanan who has left Ardana, I have something to prove, and if I can prove it on the Enterprise, that proves something to my people and to Starfleet. We're all Ardanans prepared to be galactic citizens.
And Tavarin actually stops for a minute, gets back into his chair, leans back, and takes a sip from that now slightly less frothy drink that's no longer smoking. Well, I can actually understand that, Baylor. I mean, trying to live up to a legacy, trying to live up to, I guess, the ship and the crew that helped, I guess, rescue your people or to uplift them. In a way, I feel that I entered Starfleet for the same reason. That my father, my adoptive father, everything that I've done, everything that I've learned about the Federation, its ideals, its existence as the greatest institution ever conceived by any of the species that have aggregated within it, it's all been to live up to his example. Ever since he was crippled, his career was destroyed, and in a way, I guess I've always wanted to carry on that family tradition. So even if it's for different reasons and for, well, in relation to different things, people or just a person, I guess I can kind of understand where you're coming from.
Well, I guess what I really wanted to communicate was that the Baylor Droxine you've seen thus far has been, let's say, half an ass. Maybe a little more than half an ass, but if you'll pardon the expression. But I'm giving this job my whole ass now, so I may still be an ass, but I do ask that perhaps we suspend permanent judgment and give me another chance to earn your respect.
Well, you may be a whole ass, but you're halfway there to earning my respect. So I think I can do that, sir.
Excellent. And when we're off duty, please, it's Baylor, and he'll extend his hand to shake.
And Tavarin will reciprocate.
And as the
Excellent.
mood lighting continues and Barry White sings a solo, we're going to transition away from two forward to sickbay, where Alexio, you're walking in on Cater doing something with a banana. And yeah, the reason you're here, Alexia, or like the way I like to figure it out, is that Ray Lure is currently talking with V, sort of the regularly scheduled therapy, and you're sort of here to pick her up when she's done. So that's your motivation for being here, but I'm interested to see what Mr. Cater is doing. So take it away.
Oh, doctor, I don't mean to be nosy,
No, no, no,
but
shh. Speak. Speak.
I,
Did it? Speak. Damn it! Didn't work.
you talking
I
to
slammed the banana down.
the banana?
Don't worry about it. It's fine. Just working on a thing. Can I help you with something?
Well, I'm just here to pick up her lure, and she's almost done with her session with V. But can I help you with whatever you're working on there?
Maybe. You know how you like shapeshift?
Yeah, I know that. Yes.
Yeah, right. So I'm trying to get things to shapeshift, but it's not working. I was thinking that if we could all shapeshift, then we could all do that thing you do. I don't know if I'm making sense. I've been up for like 72 hours. I'm a little tired right now. I've had 18 cups of coffee in the last hour. So, how are you?
This is. I'll tell you this, Dr. Cater, and this is nothing to do with your abilities, but my family and I were seen to by some of the foremost medical minds in Starfleet. They did a lot of poking and prodding, and I don't think that they got very far in the similar experience. I don't think that they tried anything on a banana. That could be the breakthrough they were missing. But
Potassium has something to do with potassium.
there were no breakthroughs in terms of leveraging our DNA for anything. In particular, they thought during the time of the Dominion War that it would have been it would have been an advantage.
Well, yes, we were fighting shapeshifters. If we could have shapeshifted, then yeah, that makes sense. How are things between you and Relura, by the way? I'm sorry, wait, I'm not supposed to ask that. That's too personal. I really need some sleep. I am all over the place, but the mood on the ship's been really off. And my head has been hurting because everyone hates each other and I'm trying to shut it out. I'm having a really hard time. So I'm working on stupid science experiments to keep myself busy. You don't really seem angry though.
No, well, it's nice to see that when you're upset, you go to work on something to help us all.
Ideally, I mean, we're all a family here, aren't we? I meant what I said when we met with the captain. We joined Starfleet to explore and to change lives. And I think one day that we'll get home, and part of getting home will be the adventure of what we're going through. And honestly, I don't want to go back and not having discovered something interesting. Then I'll probably be a failure then. So
I don't know about this banana transforming idea, but
it's stupid, I know.
If we were to adapt maybe something like what's going on with the ship, a hollow cloak on a personal level, you could achieve maybe a similar effect to shapeshifting, but on a singular target.
You know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to go find Tavarn. Thanks, Alexio. You're the man. And I'll give him a little punch on the shoulder and bolt out of the med bay looking for Tavarn.
Yeah, and I'll just look at the banana and pick it up and like peel it and start eating it while I wait for Rilla.
It tastes like a strawberry.
I'm glad that name is continued.
Like.
Oh God! Which episode of Mata Hari was that? I forget. Where I was like, "Yeah, the banana tastes like a strawberry." I forget. Was that?
It was like one of the first ones.
I got you, ELH. I got you.
Yeah, it was
Hashtag reference.
I love it. All right. Well, before Tavarn probably puts Cater out of his misery for a little bit, we're gonna cut to the captain's ready room. And Captain, as you are reviewing reports, doing what you do as captain, there's a chime at your door.
U.S.S is gonna put his pad down, look up, come in.
And in steps Mr. Droxine. And Brian is muted, as is tradition.
Hello, sir. I have a couple of staff reports, and I wondered if you had a moment for us to have a quick talk.
Of course. I'm just finishing up some reports of my own. Come sit down.
Thank you. So we probably can't push the crew at this rate too much longer. The computer reports that Mr. Cater, or Dr. Cater, I suppose, has not slept in 72 hours. He keeps bouncing in and out of his quarters. He'll be in there for like an hour and then leave. Tamarochka doesn't leave engineering anymore. I'm pretty sure she has a nest set up in the juncture between the antimatter and the matter sprays, but every time I get down there, she manages to distract me long enough that I can't verify that.
To be fair, I don't think she's ever left main engineering since we went underway.
Be that as it may, we may need to speak to the Admiral about maybe we activate the emergency holographic crew protocols. I'm just floating some ideas, but these 8 people on this ship are going to burn out if we keep at this pace.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. I've been looking into activating the EMH, but something about the programming in that thing just... I can't figure it out.
Well, if it's puzzling you, I'm certainly not going to be able to aid you in that. Although I hear Tamarochka has a specialty in photonics, so she may be able to help you out.
They'll have to inquire about it with her later then.
On a personal note, I just wanted to assure you again that despite my somewhat hasty words during the staff meeting the other day, that you can still rely on me as an officer and as a first officer, Captain. I that wasn't intended to question your general judgment. It was an emotional reaction in the heat of the moment, and I apologize.
That's noted. To be fair, if I was in your position, I'm not sure I would have reacted much differently.
As my superior officer, though, there is something I should probably reveal to you now, since we're going to be here for a while. And this is something that doesn't have any bearing on our present mission, but it does impact me personally, so it's something you should know. One of the reasons I'm so intent on getting back to the precise moment that I can meet up with the Enterprise E is I'm actually scheduled to get married in 6 months. My fiance is a commander on the Enterprise. Her name's Sarah Collins. You should find her service record in the database. But we are keeping our relationship sort of secret, just so that we don't give the impression that I got posted to the Enterprise on anything other than my own merit. So, it's not just about the ship. It's, I genuinely do want to get home to my girl.
As the bossy is listening to this, there's a mix of emotions that's kind of play over his face. Noticeably, there is some regret, especially at the mention of Baylor having a fiance that he's trying to get back to. Well, I don't know how long it's going to take us to get back, but by the nature of our mission, by the nature of this time travel, even if it takes us a couple of years at this point, we may still return before your posting.
I mean, I guess we can hope. I guess, I trust your judgment. If you think the Admiral is on the level and that we're working towards getting back home, then you have my full support. I mean, you know what? Honestly, you're the captain. You have my full support regardless.
I was actually going to take one of the data pads and hand it over. It's going to show a timeline history that he was given. Everything up till their departure point matches to what they know. This is our Starfleet.
Oh. Well, that's you know what? I didn't realize how much I had sort of given up. That's a relief. Oh, that's amazing news, Captain. This is some stellar research. Pun intended, I guess.
I needed to be sure we were following the commands of the right person.
Well, I'm glad. Is this something I can share with the rest of the crew?
It's just a timeline.
Well, then I think I might take the liberty of sending this report out to everybody.
Was there anything else?
Nope, that's everything. Unless there's anything you want to talk about.
No, you're dismissed.
And
Thank you, sir.
Right as you get up, Droxine, both you and Abasi hear a tapping at the window. And you look out of the window of the ready room, and you see an object which is familiar out of character. But in character, you're looking at a box, a little bit tapered toward the top. There's a big old jewel inlaid into the side, and it's just sort of floating against the hull, the window.
Shouldn't the shields have kept that from hitting us?
I think we need to get that inside.
Droxina Bridge.
Versa here. How may I help you?
There's an object knocking against the ready room window. Can you beam it aboard, please?
One moment. And after a moment, the object vanishes in a blue beam of light. And since Verissa wasn't told where to beam it, she just literally beams it into the chair next to Droxine. There you are, sir. Hopefully it is to your liking.
Thank you, yes. I guess hopefully this isn't a... should we bring the doctor up? Hopefully this isn't something we shouldn't have breathed.
Let's bring this down to one of the science labs.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm already exposed, and Droxine will try and pick it up.
The moment you pick it up, there's a flash of white light, and as your eyes readjust, both Abasi and Droxine, you find yourselves in a white void. There's just you two and nothing else. You're looking around, and it's very strange, but as you start to try and suss out where you are with one another, you hear a voice. And because I don't want to pigeonhole what Sarah looks like, but Droxine's girl, Sarah, sort of walks up from out of nowhere and in sort of an ephemeral voice says, "These two are linear. These two are corporeal." And then another figure appears, this time someone from Abasi's past, and they say, "They are unexpected. Shall we help them?" And then Sarah says, "That depends on their existence and whether they wish to remain in linear existence."
Sir, did you understand any of that?
I was just gonna look back to the two figures. He's looking at the one that he knows a little longer than looking towards Sarah. Where are we?
And at that mention, the two figures sort of look at each other and nod, and they both sort of vanish in a glow of white light. And in their place is someone you both know. It is literally Benjamin Sisko in his full Starfleet uniform. And Sisko sort of looks around and says, "Ah, well, I know Starfleet officers when I see them. Welcome to an orb experience."
Orb experience, sir?
To put it plainly, it's a Bajoran thing. It's related to the wormholes and the prophets, and you should look it up when this vision ends, but let's just say I'm here for a reason. We're all here for a reason. And then Sarah reappears from behind Benjamin and says, "These reshapers of linear existence, they are capable of fixing what once went wrong." And then another one, the same figure that Abasi looked at earlier, comes from the other side of Sisko and says, "If we return them to linear existence too early or too late, the universe will be changed." And Sisko kind of does the Sisko thing where he sort of shakes his head a little bit and closes his eye. Doesn't quite go for the facepalm, but he says, "What the prophets are trying to say is that you have a very important mission ahead of you all."
Can you elaborate on that, sir?
Well, that's the funny thing. Even though I'm part of the Prophet's existence wholeheartedly now, I don't really get to know everything. But what I am able to tell you is that your actions mean something, and not just for this timeline, but for the universe at large. So I don't want to say that. And you can see he's having difficulty putting things into words. Like, it's very obvious that he's trying to find a way to translate the prophet's words into a way you would understand. And eventually he restarts his sentence and says, "What the prophets are trying to say is that you will one day return to your own time. But if you do so too early or too late, your work will change. The effects of your work will change."
Oh. That's good. Then?
And then Sarah says, "Our time with them is short. Our time with them is limited." And then the Abasi figure says, "They should pursue the storm that confronted them so earlier." And Sisko kind of looks between them and looks back at Abasi and Droxine and shrugs and says, "I got nothing for that one. That one you're going to have to figure out on your own."
Abasi's gonna look over towards Droxine. The Nexus ribbon?
If that's the only storm I can think of that would be relevant.
And with a flash, everything goes back to white. And then when the white fades, you're back in the ready room, and the orb box is gone.
Okay. That was intensely strange, but useful. Should we? Do you want to call the meeting, or should I?
You go ahead and gather the officers. I need a minute. See,
Fair.
with the way Abasi is sitting, it can't be seen, but his tail is about 3 times the size it normally is. After having been standing face to face with Benjamin Sisko when his first posting had been on the Lakota.
Droxine to all senior staff. Heck, all staff. Report to the briefing room.
And yeah, Droxine, as you rush out to go coordinate everybody, Abasi, I'm curious, what do you do when Droxine has left the ready room?
Get up and pace around the ready room for a few minutes to try and calm down. Walk back over, sit back down, pulling up pad, and it'll have a picture of the form that appeared along with the other prophet.
And just for narrative's sake, what is this figure? What were they to you?
She was Abasi's fiance.
Ah, noted. Well, as you sort of stare at the picture, we sort of transition a little bit through time to everybody in the conference room. And most people are a little bit curious. I think at this point, Cater, you probably are at probably like 75 hours of no sleep at this point. So you're even a little bit more loopier than usual. But everybody sits down and sort of looks to Droxine and the captain to see what this meeting is about.
Abasi is going to take a look around the table. Is anyone here familiar with the Bajoran prophets?
And you'll see that the Varan scoffs. You mean the wormhole aliens?
And Tamarochka returns the scoff and says, "Yes, the so-called gods of Bajor. Never put much stock in them myself."
That's an abhorrent thing, that they would impose themselves on an ignorant people and elevate themselves to the status of gods.
Mr. Droxine and I just had an orb experience.
And V hasn't really been the most expressive individual in the world, but she actively like slams her hands down on the table and says, "What? Hold the hell on! You had an orb experience? Which orb?"
There's more than one?
There's 10. Which one? What color was the box? What color was the orb?
The box was like a gold, brassy gold color, and the little jewel in it was greenish.
Oh, okay, great. Cause that's great. Tamarochka almost squints over at V and says, "Are you going to be telling the class, or are you going to keep doing your mysterious Q bullshit thing?" And V sort of shakes her head and says, "Okay, history lesson. 10 orbs of Bajor all comes from what Tavarin and Tamarochka think are wormhole aliens. They're not quite Q level, but they're getting there. Anyway, case in point, you just had a visit from the Orb of Time, which literally can transition through any time and space point in the known universe. And it chose to come to you to deliver a message." Ooh, what did it tell you?
To seek out the storm that started this. The Nexus.
And at the mention of the Nexus, Varissa sort of leans back in her chair and crosses her arms and says, "Right, so if I understand what you mean correctly, we're either going to be chasing the Nexus ribbon or retracing our steps?"
Well, retracing our steps probably won't find us. We're supposed to seek out or chase the storm. So, I would imagine ribbon chasing sounds like the order of the day. What do you think, Captain?
Well, did they give you any reason to care, frankly? Why are we listening to them?
Because beside the two prophets, it was also Benjamin Sisko who appeared.
In full uniform. And pretty much, I mean, without so much as ordering, he did give us the strong impression that we were doing the thing that needed to be done.
And Tavarin will lead forward. Respectfully, sir, can you be certain that was actually Commander or Captain Benjamin Sisko? It could have been a prophet. We know that they have an ability to read the minds of corporeal or temporal beings. They can take on any form that they wish. It could have been some form of deception.
And just for kicks, Alexio quickly looks up Sisko's face on his pad, and then like shapeshifts into a Sisko lookalike for a second, and then flips back.
I mean, I don't know that I can quantify why, but I got the distinct impression that Sisko was separate from the two who appeared. One is my fiance, and one is someone I presume related to Commander Abassi.
Was it a kitty person too?
Abassi's just gonna look towards the doctor. I fail to see how that's important right now.
Just asking questions and trying to be involved. Sorry.
As far as I'm concerned, this is the most concrete lead we've received on how we'll be able to get home, and it ties somewhat into our mission of investigating this black box device, as we can do the investigation of the black box while en route to the whereabouts of the ribbon, and keeps us off the scanners of most of Starfleet.
Far be it for me to question that, sir, but Dr. Cater, do we actually have any idea where we might find the ribbon in this time period? I mean, it seemed to operate outside the known laws of subspace dynamics when we encountered it originally. It could be anywhere in the quadrant, at least insofar as I understand it.
Short answer, no. Long answer, maybe. I
It's
haven't
not a
done
very
much
longer answer, but
well.
okay.
You let me finish. You're always interrupting. You're so rude.
Gentlemen.
Yes, sorry, professionalism. Right. Fix his shirt. Okay, so I haven't really done much looking into it, if I'm being honest with you, Tavarin. But if the captain would like me to, I can start running some long-range scans on spatial phenomenon that would match its signature.
I think that would be our best bet to attempt to locate it and its current position. Hopefully it's within range of our systems.
We should also be able to cross-reference reports of similar phenomena, see if they establish some sort of course.
And on that note, since you can literally control the ship from a pad, Cater, I'd like you to roll me a reason science. And this is going to be assisted by the ship's sensor science. The difficulty on this will be a 3.
The ship.
Crew, may I spend some of that darn beautiful momentum?
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Would you mind if I spent all 3?
No.
Y'all are wonderful. I didn't mean to do that. Oops, I drew a line. Oopsie doopsie. All right. So that's going to be 3d20. Or no, wait.
4d20.
4d20. Nice. With a focus. And Catered lets out a very long boop, and pushes the button.
All right, well, that's a grand total of 5 successes, which means you get 2 momentum back. And Mr. Cater, I have a handout for you.
I love handouts.
Should now see a handout entitled Temporal Energy Scan.
Wow, that is something. Well, would you look at that? Boop, 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 boop. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so long-range scans are picking up a surge in temporal energy coming from a locale near the Bastet. Actually, it's where we initially encountered the ion storm that threw us through time. Let's see here. Library dump from the Fleet Admiral. So, yeah, it's close by.
I think we should go investigate this.
Cool. Can I get some sleep, sir? I've been awake for 75 hours, and I kind of feel like I want to cry.
And V sort of straightens her uniform. Not to interrupt you, Captain, but I think as the only other medical position on this vessel, it falls to me. Mr. Cater, you are hereby ordered to get 12 hours of sleep. And if I see you out of your quarters, and she sort of slides a hypo over to Tavarin, Mr. Tavarin has full discretion to use that.
Well, don't tempt me with a good time. And Cater will stand up and exit the conference room.
What did he mean by that?
All right, everybody, let's set course for that anomaly. Let's see what's up.
All right. So we're actually going to take our break a little bit early, just because it's a good point to pause our little session. But we'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes, so stick around. Welcome back, everybody. If you're just tuning in, basically the players have received a mission from the prophets, yes, those prophets, to go track down an energy ribbon, a temporal energy ribbon, that is somehow related to how they ended up as objective observers in time. And the players, before break, basically saw that there was a explosion or emanation. Emanation? Is that the right word I want? Emission. Mission is the word I want. Emission of temporal energy coming from where the Bastet initially encountered the ion storm that threw them through time. So we sort of skip ahead about a day and a half from that last conference room meeting. So everybody has had a chance to rest, show up on station, and in general be in the right mind for what's coming. And as you approach the area in question, you actually end up having to drop out of warp fairly quickly. Specifically because the ship has automatically detected the, shall we say, disruption of space-time, of subspace ahead of you, and has deemed warp travel not safe. So it's sort of an early warning system, as it were.
Mr. Gator, get me a full spectrum scan of the area in front of us.
Aye, sir.
All right, so Cater, that's going to be a reason, and I will give you either con or science. And then the difficulty on this is going to be a 4, and the ship will assist you with sensors and con on this one.
I would like to spend those 2 momentum and give you a threat.
Okay.
Why does it keep going to draw? What is wrong with me today? All right, and you said the ship is assisting?
Yep, ship already rolled an assist.
Thank you, Droxine. And Skadongle. Boom, ski, there it is.
All right, that's 5 successes, which means you get a momentum right back. So what you're seeing, or what you're not seeing, unless you do something with the deflector to visually see what's going on, what sensors are reporting is that there are massive tears in space-time all around the immediate area. In fact, the more you look, the more you look towards the center of this phenomenon, you are able to see that there's some form of an implosion in progress, but it seems to be frozen like everything else. So what you're seeing is bits of dust that are suspended in not in air, but in space, frozen, no momentum to them. You're seeing that the explosion itself, if you were to pull it up on the view screen, sort of looks like a sun, but there's something in the middle of the sun. It's kind of hard to tell from this distance. But at the end of the day, what matters is that in order to get through this, shall we say, torn area of space, it's going to involve some fancy flying and some creative implications to the defensive array.
Sir, Captain, that area is really messed up. Like, wow, that is broken space and time. Broken space-time. That's what we're looking at. Also appears to be frozen. Yeah, I'm getting some very conflicting readings, sir.
Thoughts, anyone?
So, if what Cater is putting on my screen is accurate, I can fly us through that, but it'll be dicey.
It might be possible, sir, if we use the sensor data that Cater has already gathered to create some kind of subspace oscillation wave using the deflector that might be able to even out the distortions in front of the ship as, well, Droxine is moving us forward.
Yeah, I don't know if we should do that. Because if we bump it, it might start it again, and then it would be impossible to map. But that's just my opinion, based on science. It's science.
And you see just Thavarin is biting his lip, not to say anything back.
Would it be possible to take a shuttle into the area to get a better mapping?
That would be a significantly better idea. We should get closer scans so that we might be able to map a pathway through and avoid all of the spatial anomalies to get to the center. Again, Captain, my fear is that if we interact with one of them, it could set the rest off, and prophets only know where we'd end up. And at this mention of prophets, he's going to look over at Tavarn. Give him a look.
And as those two are doing the eyebrow game, I think Farissa sort of turns and reports, well, I suppose you could take a shuttle, but the problem with that is if you were to even come close to one of those pockets of disruption, you might experience an acceleration effect where the shuttle, well, to put it plainly, you could end up with no fuel or a torn nacelle, and I worry that the shuttle is too exposed, whereas the full ship of the Bastet has a lot more going for it than a shuttle would.
Captain, are we on any sort of time crunch to get there? Sorry, probably the wrong. That wasn't a joke either. Do we need to rush to get there? Because if I modulate the deflector dish and redirect the balanced ionic reaction discriminator, I might be able to create a kind of mapping net with the deflector shield out in front of us, where we could map as we go. It'd be like following a guide, and the guide would be our deflector shield. Dish, sorry. We wouldn't have shields, though, if we did that. That would be the only problem.
Cater's idea to go pretty slow is actually a pretty reasonable one. The more time I have to make adjustments to the orientation of the Bastet, the better chances we have of ballet dancing our way to the center.
Agreed. I don't want to go too quickly through this field. I would caution even more than a quarter impulse.
Captain, I'd recommend that we keep Tavarin's option on standby. Tavarin, assuming that that option is possible to modulate without interfering with Mr. Cater's plan.
I should be able to make the necessary modifications on a secondary set of processors, so yes.
What I would recommend, Captain, is that I time the ship's sensor readings directly into Droxine's console, and as I map, it feeds directly to him, and all he's got to do is follow it. We'd basically be working in tandem.
Does anyone see fault in this?
My only question is, what's our objective here? If we can use this to get home, to our home, do we do that, or do we report back to Babylon Fleet?
Even if we get this and get back to our home, we should still have contact with the Babylon Fleet.
All right.
Actually, sir, I think Alexio's question would still stand then. What are we trying to accomplish here? Even if we did get home, we would no doubt be sent on some other temporal assignment to go to set right some other issue that's gone wrong in the time stream.
With that, Abasi's going to lean back in his chair, give it a few moments of thought. I'm still not an expert on this time travel, but I would think at the very least, if we're able to make it back to our time frame, that should give us a stable point to anchor to return back and forth from. We may need to get some insight from Lieutenant Tamarochka on that.
And next to you, Tavarin, V just coughs very politely, like, ahem, but doesn't say anything further.
Speaking of which, sir, have we informed her of our current plan? She tends to get rather frustrated about being kept in the dark.
Tamarochka the bridge, what the hell is going on up there?
We've dropped out of warp because we've detected an unstable subspace pocket in front of us, right where we were headed.
Ah, good, because I was wondering why the hell my sensors down here were throwing a conniption fit.
Just to make matters expedient, Abasi is going to essentially relay what he told to Tavarin to get Tamarochka's opinion.
Okay. So Tamarochka thinks it over and replies, well, it's not a bad idea. I mean, it's not good idea, but it's also not bad idea. It's a decidedly neutral idea. If it were me, I would split shit up into MVAM and send it through that way, but, let's just say that there are pros and cons to every single eventuality of plan here.
The downside to that plan, Captain, is that with the current plan of taking the Bastet in as a whole, you have two of the finest pilots in the fleet at the helm, ready to spot each other. If you split the ship into 3 pieces, that's 2 pilots for 3 ships. Unless, sorry, I haven't reviewed everyone's files. Is there someone else who feels like they're a pretty good hand with a?
Oh no,
starship? No.
I mean, if it was required of me, I could make the attempt. I have some experience with helm operations, but it's certainly not my area of expertise, many though they are.
Also,
thank you, Mr. Short. That was well worded.
Also, before we left, I told Tamarochka that the MVA was useless, and now I owe her a bottle of blood wine every time we use it. So I think that's the real reason she's suggesting it here.
Ignore what Alexi was saying. There is no liquor to be gained here. I just wish to present it as option.
Well, if that's the case, then I actually wholeheartedly suggest that we follow through with Tamarochka's plan. She shares her bloodline.
I just stare daggers at the Tavarin.
Mr. Cater, how large are these subspace rifts?
They range in size anywhere from a few hundred meters to light years across.
It may be better to activate the MVAM, create less opportunity. Smaller components of the ship.
Just a reminder that may have the same drawbacks that sending a shuttle in would. That each individual piece of the ship is weaker and will take less damage if a mistake is made before it's destroyed.
That is.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't still go ahead with the multi-vector assault plan, but I do want to make sure that is clear.
Sir, I don't recommend that. It's more surface area to touch the temporal rifts and send them into freak out mode. Just one ship. Sensors are only so strong, sir.
I think I want to proceed in MVAM.
All right.
Aye, sir.
Let's do this thing. All right, so first things first, before I start throwing complications, extended tasks, and everything at you all, we need to deal with multi-vector assault mode first. So, in order to separate the ship, I'm going to need Droxine or Relure, probably Droxine, to roll me a control and a con, and the ship will assist you with a structure engineering, and the difficulty on this will be a 2.
Out of habit, I'm going to spend a momentum on the extra dice.
All right.
Helm operations as a
would apply.
All
right. Well, there's 4 successes already, and it's structure engineering for the Bastet.
Structure engineering.
All right, so no help from the ship. But with 4 successes, we sort of see an external shot as the lights of the Bastet, they sort of begin to pulse blue as the ship separates into 3 distinct parts. And as the 3 parts separate, Relure takes over beta section, V takes over gamma section. So, Droxine, you're rolling for alpha section here.
Gotcha.
And the way we're gonna do this, I'm gonna sort of explain my idea, but obviously this idea can be changed. So this is going to be handled in a unique extended task, and what I mean by that is that every single part of the ship has to get a certain requisite amount of successes in order to do work against the work track. And we're going to handle this in a way that Droxine will be rolling again for alpha, Rulor for beta, and V for gamma, etc., etc. So there's 3 rolls involved each time. It's a little bit more dice heavy, but I think that's probably the best way to handle MVAM, unless somebody has a good idea.
Well, I was just going to say, I think I have a better combination of stats than V for piloting.
Do you? Let me look at your sheet.
Con of 3, control of 11.
Ah, yeah. Then if you want to take over gamma,
focus.
Yeah. So then it's Droxine, Rulor, and Tavarin then. All right. So, what it's going to be from each of you 3 is it's going to be a daring and a con. And the ship, you don't have to go to individual sheets to roll it because the stats should be the same for the ship. But the ship is going to be rolling a engines and a con here. Or let's actually make it a structure and con. I think structure and con makes a little bit more sense. And what I would say is that across all 3 rolls, you have 2 sources of assist. So, for example, you could have Cater map the anomaly, give you an advantage there. You could have Alexio modulate the shields or do something fancy with the deflector, do something there. But you only have 2 assists, so you have to spend them wisely.
Well, Cater and I had already agreed that we would work in tandem.
All right. So the other reason I'm saying all of this is because it is a combined difficulty. It's a difficulty 8 overall, meaning that between Tavarin, Droxine, or Rulor, I need to see 8 successes before I'm going to let anyone roll against a work track.
I also wanted to say, I actually think that I have better stats for piloting than Rulor.
Really?
Yeah. I just with the difficulty of this, I was just gonna let it go. With the difficulty of this, I have a control of 11 and a con of 4.
What would be daring con?
You're a better.
Oh, it would be a daring con. Okay,
yeah, it's
well
a daring
then.
con. No, but yeah,
you'd be a better pilot than me at that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, looking at it, I think you are legit one of the better pilots here. You just don't have a focus for it.
Yeah.
Oh, but
That's
hey,
funny.
maybe you can use that to assist in some way. I mean,
I'll use it to assist. Yeah.
Because what I was gonna
not
say,
brave.
what I was gonna say for Cater, and this applies to you as well, Alexio, charting a hazard is a reason con. So you could assist that way in charting the hazards in front of you. But let's start with Droxine, and we'll start to go through this little gauntlet here. So Droxine, again, it is a daring and con on your part, and the ship is assisting with structure con. And who would you like to assist you on this? I'm assuming Cater?
Yeah.
All right. So Mr. Cater, you're going to be rolling a reason con, and depending on how many successes we see, I will flavor appropriately.
Oops. I will spend the momentum for an extra dice.
All right, that's starting with 3.
And then the ship.
All right, so we're already at 5 successes. So what that means is the alpha section sort of begins to dip, bob, and weave through what is essentially an invisible corridor of torn space-time. And it's one of those things where you can only really see what they're avoiding if you were to look on sensors. But basically, Droxine is putting on a clinic, as the expression goes. Up next, we have Mr. Tavarin. So, Mr. Tavarin, I need a daring and con from you, and who would be assisting you, if anyone?
I think that Alexio would probably be helping me to navigate and feeding me navigational data. If he's
okay, then.
Yep.
So, Alexio, you'll be assisting with a reason con on this one. And again, the Bastet will assist with a structure con.
And I'll spend 1 momentum to roll 3 dice.
Okay. All right, well, that's a complication. All right, so that's a total of 7 successes overall right now with a complication, and I'll handle complications at the end. Just need to see a structure con from the ship and see what happens.
It's the wrong part of the ship. They're not stat roll seems so.
All right, so
Nope.
what that's going to mean is that Tavarin, as you are flying the beta section or the gamma section through the gauntlet ahead of you, what happens is the complication is you brush very, very not heavily into, you just sort of skim the surface of one of the torn pockets. And I'm going to say that gamma section is going to take a system hit here, like a breach. So that means the weapon systems of gamma section will suffer a breach and are therefore offline, just so you know. And then finally, we come to Lieutenant Relure, who is only going to be assisted by the ship. If someone wants to get her daring con, she does have a focus. I only need to see 1 success from her before you are allowed to roll challenge dice. All right, well, there's an assist from the ship. So all she needs to literally roll is 1 success here.
So who's taking it?
Oh,
I'll get it.
I can do it.
I'd spend at least 1 momentum just to try to perhaps generate more with her focus.
Yep.
Survey says...
I said this was a daring con.
Mm-hmm.
Use the 1 momentum for another die.
All right, well, there's the 1 success you needed. So with 9 total successes, you actually get the momentum back. And now we add up the con scores. So Relure had a 4, Droxine had a 4, Tavarin, you had a 4 as well. So between everybody, you may roll 12 challenge dice. And how you want to split that up is entirely on you. You could have Droxine roll his 4, Relure roll her 4, or if you're feeling especially lucky, Tavarin could take all 12, or Droxine could take all 12.
For reroll purposes, let's give that all to Droxine, I think. And it should be 11 because I have a con of 3.
Ah, thank you for the correction.
No problem.
So no pressure, Droxine. No pressure.
Yeah, no, not at all.
All right, well, that is sizable amount of work. Do you wish to spend any momentum on piercing, re-rolling zeros?
What is the... I don't think we ever got all the mechanics.
Oh,
for the...
you know what? Yeah, I was
work
like,
track.
I know I'm
What's the
forgetting
work
something.
track?
All right,
track, yeah.
so let me type that out. So the work track is at a 36. The magnitude is a 10. And or not a 10. What am I I'm reading my own notes wrong. The magnitude is a 5. The difficulty is an 8. And there is resistance of 2. So that's what you're looking at before this new work is applied. So right now you're doing 10 work on the work track, which is enough for a breakthrough.
Quick question. My
Yes.
talent of coordinated efforts will not be in effect because I did not assist, correct?
Correct.
Oh. I only realize now. Actually, no, that doesn't count. But I do have that bonus momentum from all fingers and thumbs.
Mm-hmm.
So could we spend that to remove the 2 resistance?
Yeah, I'll let you do it.
No,
I
it's a
can
bonus
spend-
momentum. You didn't have to spend it there, Wolf.
I can spend a momentum to re-roll those zeros, right? That's a thing I can do.
It certainly is.
I mean, it certainly
Yeah.
couldn't hurt us, right?
Do it.
Well,
No.
that's
didn't help us either,
extraordinarily
but-
bad luck. All right. Well,
Good try.
I think that what that means is you actually complete 1/3 of the work track as both the pilots and the engineers and really everybody working together. You begin to proceed towards this implosion of what might be a vessel, a station. Again, it's hard to tell even on the view screen what it is you're flying towards. You just see that the closer you get, the brighter it gets, and the more it's like a miniature sun going off. But it is at this point that I'm going to introduce a complication that I got from chat. And what that complication is going to be is that thanks to that earlier brush against the sort of the nacelle and the space tear on Gamma section, I'm actually going to re-raise the difficulty to an 8.
They're moving now, aren't they? Like Cater warned.
Just a little bit. They're not especially moving around, but they are in motion now.
Lieutenant Tavarin, remember that one time I said that we shouldn't brush up against the temporal anomalies?
Save it, Cater. We can talk about it when we're out of here.
All right, but then, okay.
And Tavarin is actually going to look surprisingly downcast, and he's going to turn over to Alexio. Alexio, you're a better pilot than I am. Take over. I'll monitor the shield frequencies for our section.
I'm not even gonna milk this. But I am gonna kind of stroke your back in a comforting manner.
I find that more patronizing than comforting, but
I'll give it a try. It's just I'm not experienced as a pilot.
Let's just focus on getting through here.
All right. Well, same thing again, everybody. So we're going to start with Droxine and proceed down the line. So Droxine, you know what to do.
I would like to spend a momentum, and then I will have a focus for sure. I mean, I had the focus before.
It's already 4 successes. Structure con from the ship. It's 5 successes. And no help from the ship. That was Cater's assist, not the ship's. All right, so that's 5 successes. Again, Cater and Droxine working together. Alpha section's doing phenomenal, having a good time, flying around, and if anyone was seeing outside, it's almost like a roller coaster where you're just kind of going up in sharp angles, then rapidly veering down into the side. And unfortunately, the inertial dampeners sort of take the fun out of it all, but if anybody looking at you is very impressed. All right, up next is going to be Alexio. So Alexio, tell us a little about who's assisting you on this one.
Well, I think the Varin can maybe now assist with the navigation while I do the piloting.
Sure.
We just gonna switch roles here.
I would suggest actually that we let the captain do it because he has a very nice talent for the purposes of this.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'll let the Varin lick his wounds and ask the captain for some help on this one.
All right, well, Captain, you're going to assist with a presence and a con on this one. Unless you want to sell me on command somehow.
Maybe I'm watching over Alexio, seeing what he's doing, offering a couple suggestions. Try this instead.
Mm-hmm.
If he pushes a little of it, just try it.
All right, I'll let it happen. So yeah, Alexio, need a daring con. Looks like the ship already assisted you with one.
All right. I'm not going to spend momentum here because we're already doing pretty good.
Famous last words.
Would my command protocols be an applicable focus?
It would indeed. All right, well, there's your 8 successes already. So noticeably, Gamma section is a little bit more nimble with Alexio at the controls, and I'm sure Tavarin has some choice thoughts about that, but we'll get to those after you're out of danger. So really all this means is that at this point, Rulur just doesn't have to roll any complications. So who wants to roll for Rulur?
I will retain the ship.
All right.
I will get Rulur again.
All right. All right, well, there's 1 momentum.
I think puts us at 10, so on difficulty 8, we're at 2 momentum.
Yes, you're right.
4 from me, 1 from Cater.
And that is 3 more, so I think you're pretty close to cap. You're at what, 5, 6? 6. So
Yeah, we're at 6.
I think what happens at this point is with that quick change of who's at the helm of Gamma, the 3 pieces of the ship are making extremely good progress towards the ball of light that you're flying towards. Who wants to do the honors of the 12 challenge dice, or the 11 challenge dice?
Should obviously be the hero of the hour, Mr. Yes, Alexios. I could just hear whispering in the back of. I'm like, what's going on?
Alexia, what's your con score?
My con is 4.
So I think that's going to be 12 dice
12.
this time.
So we actually have 12. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it would be 12.
I would recommend spending a momentum to remove the resistance.
We can roll first and then decide, right?
Correct.
Oh,
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well, that is 12 successes.
And Captain, did you have a talent that would play an effect?
My coordinated efforts gives either Scrutinize 2 or Progression 1 for every effect rolled.
If I remember correctly, one of those is basically Piercing 2 and the other one is Vicious 1. So which do you want to apply?
Vicious is mechanically superior.
I would agree with that, the progression.
All right, so let's see. So that is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 work done. If you spend that momentum, that is 17 work. If you don't spend it, it's 15 work.
Yep.
Totally
Yeah,
worth it.
let's spend that one. Yeah.
All right. So that brings your grand total to 29 and reduces the magnitude and the difficulty down. And what I'm going to say at this point is you all are sort of on the cusp of getting through the worst of this minefield. However, with the threat I have, I'm actually going to create a complication. And this complication is going to be that you're starting to get into narrower spaces, as in the sort of avenue to fly through is you're having to do more, shall we say, ballet dancing, to sort of borrow what you said earlier, than sort of barreling through with high speed. And what that means is that for the next several attempts, your complication range is going to be a 17 to 20, just so you know. But yeah, I mean, Droxine, at this point, if you are able, or I guess not just Droxine, but everybody, if you're able to get 6 work done on the work track at this point, you complete this extended task. So who wants to take the honors at a first shot here?
We got Droxine. Let's go.
I will spend a momentum again to roll 3 dice.
All right.
And
All right, that's already 3. Let me check that 0. That 0 is not a complication. And Cater's not a complication either. And neither is the Bastet, so you get 3 work done. All right, so we now have to go to Alexio. Alexio, are you having a bossy assist you again, or are you going to have Tavarin sort of chip in?
Yeah, I'll ask the captain to assist me again. And rather than spend a momentum, I'm actually going to adapt my determination here, for my instincts serve me well.
Okay.
To get the 2 free successes. And then I will roll the daring con.
Wow, lots of 14s and 15s.
The RNG is feeling tested.
Oh boy.
All right, so still no successes there. But again, no complications. Checking
there's
those
2
from my determination.
Well,
yeah,
2 from your determination.
Yeah.
So you're currently at 5 successes, which means Relure has to come up with 2 in order for you all to make progress. 2 successes for her part.
I would encourage us to spend at least 1 momentum. Does she have a focus?
Oh yeah, she has a focus.
I would go with
encourage
3.
us to spend at least 1.
If she can get,
Should we do more dice?
if she can get at least 1 success, we'll hit it at least, because the ship assists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would say at least 1 momentum.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll spend 1 on her.
Okay.
And
There
she
it
nails
is.
it. She nails it. So that is 7. I see 11 successes. So that is 4 momentum back, which means you have 1 floating at the moment. And yeah, who wants to do the honors of the 12 challenge dice?
Who hasn't rolled it? Tavarin should roll these dice. As the person who hasn't rolled dice most recently.
Yeah, go for it. I believe in Tavarin.
All right, let's go here.
No pressure.
Nice.
Yeah.
There we go.
You do just fine. So, what ends up happening is you eventually sort of squeeze through a narrow corridor that gets progressively narrower and narrower as you fly through it. And right before you think you're going to start to brush the sides of the anomaly, you sort of break through the other side, all three portions of the ship, and you're now within actual visual range of the bright object in front of you. And what you see is very clear now that you're close to it. What you see is a starship. And based on the starship records that the Fleet Admiral has given you, you all are able to identify this ship as being the U.S.S. Relativity, a Wells class from the 29th century. And it is in the center of this ball of light.
Bring that up on the view screen for everybody.
Mr. Cater, can you get scans, see what their condition is?
Attempting scans now, sir. Reason science?
Actually, I'm going to say that when you attempt to scan it, you get nothing back, as if it wasn't there.
Sir, so it doesn't exist. It's not coming up on sensors. I'll be less cryptic, sorry.
Did we take damage to our sensors on the way in?
No, sir, it is simply not there. We can see it, but the sensors don't see it. It is a time to ship from the... it's future tech. I don't know.
Our sensors are 500 years out of date, sir. It makes sense that we wouldn't be able to penetrate whatever kind of cloaking they might have.
It also may be temporarily locked, which means it's not showing up on our sensors because it is outside the space-time.
Try opening a channel.
Attempting.
And yeah, channel opens. What do you say, Bossy?
This is Commander Abbasi of the U.S.S. Bastet. Can you read us?
And there's that pause. And then there's a burst of static. And the static is almost like if you were to take a microphone and put it up to a speaker. So maybe you wince a little bit as it sort of crackles over the loudspeaker. But that's the only sound it sort of replies with.
Mr. Tavarin, can you do anything to clear that up?
I can try my best, sir, but I'm dealing with temporal mechanics that are frankly beyond our current level of understanding. I'll try to refine the sensors and use a kind of chronometric detection array to filter out the interference, maybe even penetrate their hull and get some scans, but give me a minute.
And yeah, Tavarin, as you say that, V actually kind of leans over and says, here, I'll help you out. I think if we regulate the chronoton emitter on deck 3, we should be able to pierce through the interference.
That's actually an excellent idea. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Well, of course, I do have approximate knowledge of all things, after all. This is totally not a cry for help that I want to help out more. Totally not that. Nope.
You're part of the crew. You're part of the family. That you're always helping.
And
Anyways.
At that, she smiles really loud or really big, and then she turns to everyone. I got him to say it. He thinks of us as family. We're good. And on that note, Tavarin, I want you to roll me a control in engineering, and the ship will assist you with a comms engineering. And
What's
the
the
difficulty
difficulty
on this is going to be a 5, so you may wish to spend momentum and determination.
Okay. I'd like to do several things. I'll use my augmented ability control.
Okay.
I'd like to challenge a value, even though I
Okay.
have determination, because of what has transpired earlier. So dangerously competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to challenge that because I have actually given up that competition to a certain extent.
Yeah. I think that's
Not exactly
completely
sure what I'll
valid.
replace it with, but
You can do that at the end of the session. That's when you're supposed to do it anyway. So
yeah. So I will spend that to get 2 successes.
You're sitting at 3 at the moment.
And then I will buy 2 extra dice.
All right, which would be 4, 5 momentum.
Yeah. And I imagine I would have a focus for this?
You do. All right, so that is 6 successes. And let me just check that 0, because it could be a complication, because uses... it's a 17. You're good. So yeah, Tavarin, with V sort of helping you out, providing a few bits of insight, you are able to translate the burst of static. And it sort of comes in waves. At first, when you replay the message initially, it's static, but a little bit more audible. Like you can hear a voice in it, a very high-pitched voice. So you run it again. It becomes slower and slower and slower. And you start to make out words in almost sort of a rapid fashion. So essentially what you're doing is you're slowing the signal down until it becomes audible and understandable. And after about the 6th or 7th pass, what you all hear is the following. And it is the voice of the Relativity's computer. And the voice is reporting, "Danger, temporal containment has failed. Danger, temporal containment has failed." And the message loops.
Given the position of this explosion, what are the chances that this is the cause of the accident that blew us through time?
And Verissa sort of turns and goes, I'm not the expert on science here, but my gut says that's probably it. Though, hold on. Are we saying that the relativity blowing up is why the Nexus exists in the first place?
Ooh. I mean, it wasn't before, but now I'm thinking about it.
It might be a possibility.
Oh, I hate time. Nah. She turns back to her station, grumbling to herself.
Mr. Tavarin, if we beamed a repair team aboard the Relativity, what are the odds that you and Tamaruchka would be able to understand what is even happening on that ship?
I feel, sir, as if you're asking that question just to shame me, but...
Oh, no, not at all.
Quite frankly, I have no idea, although I would highly recommend against using transporters. Given the interference that we're having just with communications and sensors, it would probably be wiser to send a shuttle across the gap. What we'd find when we get there, whether we'd be able to effect any kind of repairs or even understand the technology involved, is anyone's guess, but I think we have to try.
Agreed on that.
So I guess the question is, who's going on the away team?
I'm thinking Tamarochka and Tavarin should be going.
Okay.
There could be injured crew members. Doctor would request to come.
And we probably need our best pilot, so Droxine.
And I would like V to go.
And V to go. All right. And I tell you what, Alexio, do you feel confident doing a Tamarochka?
Doing a Tamarochka, what does that mean?
As in role-playing her so that you have a character on the away mission.
Have a character doing it? You know what? I cannot do the accent.
Accent not required.
Okay, yeah, well then, yes.
All right.
Must do
Cool.
Tamarochka accent. It's just Russian. You should fall into it. It's a word of mouth.
No, I'm not even gonna try it. Not on a recorded stream. No.
Well, now I really want you to.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah, you know, gotta respect it. All right, so the way this is going to work initially, as we just very briefly go to Theater of the Mind, I do need Droxine to roll me a control and a con. And this is going to be a difficulty of 4 to get you over to the U.S.S. relativity without a hitch.
Right, well, then I am absolutely spending a momentum. Actually, let me see.
Can I assist with the sensors, just like we did when we were guiding ourselves in?
You may certainly do so. It would be another reason con from you.
I think I'm going to spend my determination by tapping my I just want to get home to my girl value for the 2 free successes, and then I'll spend 2 momentum on a third dice to roll.
Noted.
Yeah. And once again, just to confirm, helm operations will still.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that is your 5 successes, which means you get a momentum back. And yeah, we sort of see a shuttle. It's almost like a beauty shot where as the shuttle is leaving out of Alpha section, Beta and Gamma are already moving in to reform the Bastet into a single ship. So as the Bastet becomes singular, the shuttle sort of veers out away from the ship and heads towards this ball of light. And as you get closer and closer and closer, you all begin to feel a bit of unease. And that unease is not really anything you can put your finger on. There's nothing medical about it. Like Cater, maybe you start to think, to scan to see if there's anything like physiological going on. There's no medical explanation for it. It's almost as if your gut is telling you where you're going is wrong. And that feeling amplifies until eventually, Droxine, you're able to bring the shuttle in right above where the bridge is on the relativity, and you sort of flip the shuttle around so that you're able to dock with the airlock that is nearest to the bridge.
I don't want to parrot another sci-fi property, but I have a bad feeling about this, you guys.
I do too, Droxine. And it's not just a feeling. It's more than that. You felt it too, didn't you?
I think technically, since I brought it up, you're feeling it too. But yes.
Did everyone else feel that too? Like a sensation, like in your gut, like we shouldn't be here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Is it some kind of telepathic imprint, Doctor?
I'm not sure. I didn't get anything on the scans, but just if you feel it again, let me know.
And V actually kind of coughs politely and says, I actually am not feeling that. I don't know if that makes me different, but you asked, so.
I mean, it may have something to do with the fact that you're the only one of us who didn't come into this sort of existence through this point in space. So if we're being affected, if our objectivity in time is based on this explosion, then maybe we're feeling something that you wouldn't.
Fair argument. Fortunately, I can't confirm it, but it sounds good.
I thought you had approximate knowledge of all things.
I mean, I do, but I don't just magically know why you're feeling unease. I mean, there's 100,000 different ways just in the psychology books that you could be feeling that.
V, do me a favor, and if that changes, if you start to feel weird too, let us know.
Will do.
Question for you.
But otherwise,
sorry.
I'm going to dock us.
Question for Game Master ELH.
Yo.
Is there like a directionalness to this feeling, or is it just coming from within?
It's kind of that's. I'm trying to figure out how to put this. In real life, when you're in a situation and you're like, this feels wrong. I don't want to be here. Like maybe you're at a party and for whatever reason, the party just doesn't feel right anymore, and you're like, I need to leave. It's sort of that gut feeling.
So for me, at least personally, usually when that happens, like there's a direction of where like if I like pivot, you can almost feel like, oh, that's deeper into the party. That's where I don't want to go. And as you pivot away from it, you start to feel less anxious.
So I would say then that the more you focus on the relativity, like if you were to turn away from the relativity, then that would apply.
Cater's going to regret this in about 2 seconds, but he's going to reach out telepathically in that direction and see if he like feels or senses anything.
I was wondering to see if somebody would. So, Mr. Cater, I need you to now roll me 5 challenge dice, please.
God
Oh,
bless you.
goodness.
And you've rolled 6 successes. So what happens, Cater, when you reach out with your mind, you feel something, a familiar something, but you can't get a beat on why it's familiar because it's almost like someone has taken an air horn and taped it to a vuvuzela and blown it into your ear. And you visibly wince and recoil as you draw your mind back, and you are going to suffer 4 stress damage as a result of this.
Ah, God.
Mr. Cater, are you all right? Doctor?
Oh, my head. That was a rush. Whoa. There's something in there, something familiar. We've got to get inside. Are we docked? We've got to get inside.
We aren't docked quite yet. Doctor, in future on away missions, if you're going to use your telepathic powers, I'd appreciate if you gave me some sort of warning.
Of course, Commander. Sir, Lieutenant. Right.
All right, I'm bringing us in. Tamarochka, Chavarin, I need you to be as far from the doors as possible. You're the most valuable engineers we've got. Cater, you go first, and I'll follow behind.
Of course, absolutely. Cater looks really excited.
Respectfully, sir, I believe that I should go first. I am the tactical officer.
Unfortunately, on this mission, you're serving as co-engineer, so I need your talents to survive the longest, honestly. So Cater and I will take the door. You can take any corners as we go.
Very well, sir.
All right. So you dock, you get ready to go in, and when the doors open to the airlock, you do see a relatively intact bridge of a relativity or of a Wells class. Now, what I mean by a bridge here is a little bit different because I think we only really see this once in Voyager. So the bridge isn't your typical Starfleet bridge. It's more of a curved affair with a temporal transporter sort of off to the side of the bridge. And the captain's chair sort of sits not facing the rest of the crew. They sort of face their own sort of temporal readouts. However, what's sort of important here to discuss is the fact that the lighting is flickering. Everything looks to be in the signs that power is being disrupted and or failing in some regard. The other thing you're noticing is that there are bodies on the floor, and anytime you go over to a body and if you were to touch a body, the body will instantly disintegrate when you touch it. So you're not even able to get a scan on it. Well, you can maybe get a scan if you thought to scan it before you touched it, but if you go over and even disturb a body, body's gone. But even not looking at the bodies or touching the bodies, you see that most of them have very, very distinct temporal scarring, like sort of what we see on Daniels in Enterprise, where he starts to get a little bit, messed up in the face. Maybe he has some scarring. It's pretty easy to tell that these people have been through the ringer, through hell and back. The other thing that you're noticing is that the computer is just repeating over and over and over that temporal containment has failed.
All right, Tavarin, Tamarochka, see if you can track down what is causing temporal containment to go down. See what repairs you can effect. Mr. Cater, Lieutenant V, I'd like the two of you to see how much you can glean from the temporal logs on the ship, and I'll report back to the captain. Everybody understood?
Aye, sir.
Aye, sir. And yeah, V goes over to station next to Cater. Tamarochka and Tavarin, where are you guys going to go? Are you going to go for the captain's chair? Are you going to go for a general console along the back wall? Where are you going?
Alexio, if you want to...
Yeah, I was just going to say general console on the back wall.
Okay.
While Tamarochka is doing that, I'd actually like to take a look at the temporal transporter to see what it was used for most recently, and if that can correlate with the time at which, let's say, containment was breached.
Go ahead and roll me a reason and science for this. and the difficulty will be a 4. And if you have temporal mechanics, if you have transporters and replicators, those would all be focuses that would apply.
I do have transporters and replicators. So it was reason and science?
Mm-hmm.
Would I have time to focus my mind in advance of this, knowing that I was going to be embroiled in temporal investigations?
I'll give it to you.
Okay. And I will also tap my determination.
Okay.
The United Federation of Planets is the greatest organization ever conceived, in that we're attempting to secure the timeline so as to ensure that the proper federation does emerge.
Got it.
Okay. And where's that? 2d20. Double focus.
All right. And that is 5 successes or 4 successes, which is exactly what you need. Tavarin, I can give you the nitty gritty if you really want, but I think what's going to capture your immediate attention, there is somebody in the transporter buffer, almost like how Scotty kept himself alive in the transporter buffer all those years. There's someone in there.
Commander, there's a pattern stored in the temporal transporter buffer.
Do you think you could load it into the Bastets? Actually, even just the shuttles transport buffer, and then we can maybe bring them out of this?
I can attempt to create a linkage between the matter-antimatter conversion matrix, or the matter-energy conversion matrices of our respective transporters. Try to materialize them, yes, sir.
Then make it so. All right. Let's see who it is.
And yeah, Tavarin and Tamarochka working together. Very simple thing to do.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, are you going to beam them onto the pad of the relativity, or are you going to beam them back in the shuttle, I guess is the question.
Whichever would be easier, I would say.
Yeah, probably the transporter here because it's right here. But when the blue light begins to form and a figure sort of emerges, it's a familiar face, and maybe you're starting to understand why all of you were feeling that general sense of unease. Who comes out is Relure, a little bit older, and she is wearing captain pips, and she immediately faints into Tavarin's arms.
Doctor?
Whoosh, right over there. Whoop whoop. What is that? Reason medicine?
Yep, reason medicine.
I got you. And with a focus. Boom, 2.
That is more than you need, so you actually get 1 momentum back. She's fine, but let's just say that since this is kind of a time campaign, I think it's fair to say that you all are checking quantum signatures on a regular basis. She has the same temporal signature, the same quantum signature as the junior Relure, as it were.
Are her eyes fixed?
Actually, when you look at her eyes are black pools. They are fully black.
But are they fixed?
You have no idea.
We don't know.
I want to find out.
Well, you're going to have to wake her up then.
Away team to Bastet.
Bastet here, go ahead.
Captain, is Lieutenant Raylor still sitting at the helm over there?
She's right here.
Yep, I'm here. What's up?
Then you may be interested. You may be interested to know that we just materialized you out of the transporter here.
Okay. I don't know what the hell am I supposed to say to that.
Well, I think this is more of a warning. Maybe don't come over.
Don't worry about it. I'm waking her up. We can ask her shortly. Hypo spray.
That's
And Cater, as you wake her up, she almost jolts up right into Varen's arms, and she sort of grabs Cater by the scruff of his uniform neck, pulls him in close, and says, "Get us out of here." And that's where we're going to end today's session, because I like to end on a cliffhanger.
God, what a cliffhanger.
Love it.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, what did you guys think? Was
Super
that
fun.
Good session.
It was a good one.
Awesome.
That was good.
I'm bought in. I'm all in.
Excellent.
All in.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I'm going all in. There it is.
Love it. All right. Well, glad you all had fun. This is where I'm gonna end the recording for YouTube, but Twitch stick around. YouTube, see you later.